Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Hi, William. This is Roy Hassel. Just a quick question. The Torah says that we're not to seek after other gods. Because of that, why should Jews or anyone else who are not Christians search out the Christian Bible and compare it with the Torah? Thank you.
Perfect. Go ahead and hang up now, and you can tune in for your answer. Rabbi, that's a good question. Here we go.
It's a brilliant question. I'll tell you what I was asked by a Noahide, is it permissible to bring a King James Bible into the bathroom? A little caveat of information, it is forbidden to bring a holy book into a bathroom. Not allowed. It's understandable. It's certainly disrespectful. We don't. Question he asked me is, can I bring a King James Bible? After all, it's a King James. Can I bring it into the bathroom? And I told him, you actually asked the wrong question. The right question is, can you take it out of the bathroom? So the answer to that question is that it is forbidden for someone to read the Christian Bible unless there's some very compelling reason to do so, because it is the literature of Christendom, of idolatry, and therefore would ordinarily be forbidden. However, that said, it is necessary to, when you become a doctor, to study disease so that you can heal people. And I would have never studied the Christian Bible unless I saw that there was a building on fire and I had to go and rescue people out of it. And I had to provide ample reason for people who are in the church to get out as quickly as possible. I would heighten your question because the Torah tells us all over that, of course, you can't worship other gods, but you can't bow down to any other gods. The Torah even says further in Exodus chapter 23, verse 13, the Torah says, V'chol asher amarti alechem tishomru, and everything I've told you, you must guard. V'shem Elohim acherim lo yisaskiru, and the name of other gods you should not even remember. Lo yishama al picha, it should not even be heard on your lips. There's actually a separate prohibition of actually even discussing the other gods of the world. Not allowed to do that. You know, they said, and go and study ancient literature that talks about the Canaanite gods. This is all prohibited, except that given we're in a situation where we have the building's on fire, and not only is the building on fire, not only is there a cancer that's metastasized in the United States, it's reached stage 4 here in the land of Israel, in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, we have to do surgery. You know what surgery is? Surgery is, if a person, God forbid, needs it, you're doing a violent thing to the body. The body doesn't want to be cut. They have to use all kinds of anesthesia and so on. I mean, you need to do something that is urgent to deal with a situation that has to be stopped immediately. I could say this to you, and I could say this on behalf of every single person who is involved in countering the efforts of evangelical Christians who target Jews. None of us, not a single one of us, would have ever studied the Christian Bible. I would have never looked at a Christian Bible if evangelicals were not trying to convert my people. And I discussed it with my rabbi before I ever did such a thing. If evangelicals were not trying to convert the Jews, were not trying to destroy us spiritually, I would never looked at something like that. But sometimes there's what's called a hirasha, which means an emergency. There's an urgent situation where there's idolatry everywhere. And prophets, for example, like Elijah, when he realized that in an area of what's called Mount Carmel. There were many, many Jews who were involved in worshiping Baal. Many, many Jews. And the influence of Jezebel, and her wicked husband, this is a couple, a nightmare. They were spreading idolatry all over the land of Israel. So Elijah normally would not have been allowed to bring an offering on Mount Carmel because the Torah is clear that you can only bring an offering in the place that I will show you, that I will point out to you. And that was Jerusalem. So how did Elijah come to bring an offering, and the priests of Baal were there as well? Where does he come to do such a thing? The answer is that it was an urgent situation, and in an emergency, if someone is, God forbid, deathly ill on the Sabbath, then you have to make that adjustment. And I had to. I really regret doing that. I wish that my mind had never been filled with the drivel that Paul penned 2,000 years ago. I wish my mind was clear of this stuff. I wish I never had to study it, but I did because there was a building on fire. The doctors, they wish they never had to look and study illness, but that's what a doctor has to do. You have to study illness in order to be able to provide a healing. So that's a very, very good question. Ordinarily, no person should study Christian literature or Hindu literature and all this literature. Never. It's all idolatry. Stay far. Should run away from it. But sometimes there's an emergency, and you have to make a unique exception, L'man Hashem, for the sake of God.